Right, so now we are going to continue, and we're going to be checking if the two new passwords that the user specifies, so password and password again, actually match. And obviously this is relatively straightforward. What we want to do is we want to say if $_post password is equal to $_post password again. And that's all we need to do. Now we might want to take into consideration users that maybe accidentally place an extra space at the end of where they've entered their password. We could really say this for any data. So, for example, if a user was to enter a space, if the user was just to say enter password and then accidentally press the space key and enter another space, then that would be treated differently to something that was the same string but without any extra white space. And you'll see that we've used empty here to check empty values. Empty is great because it takes into account any white space as something being empty, but here we need to be a bit more careful. So I'm going to say if trim password is equal to trim password, and what trim does is it just removes white space from the left and the right hand side. We do have ltrim and rtrim, but I'm just going to be using trim. So if the trimmed password, i.e. a password with any extra white space on the left or right hand side, is equal to the password again, or is not equal to the password again, what do we want to do? We'll do a double equals there. What do we want to do? Well, we want to append an error because they don't match. So your new passwords do not match. Perfect. So else we want to do something in here. So what do we want to do? We want to check else if something, and that is whether the password is greater than 6 characters, and that's important. So let's just say if the string length of the posted password is greater than 6, or we say is less than 6, then we do another error. So, or we append another error to this error array. So we'll just take the same text that we used here. So your password must be at least 6 characters. That's fine. Again, you see we're copying and pasting, which is somewhat bad, but we can fix that at a later date. And that looks like it's it. So let's just go ahead and test everything out just to make sure there's no errors or anything. I'm going to go ahead and enter an incorrect current password and 2 matching new passwords. Now your current password is incorrect. Notice that we haven't returned an error saying your 2 new passwords are too short or anything like that. Let's just go through some of the logic here. So we are initially checking the password. Now if the passwords do match, then we go in and we look at these. If they don't match, we only append one error. So if they do match, we then go into these checks. Now the first check is whether the passwords match. If the passwords don't match, we do this. Now the reason we've got this else if is because we only then need to, if the 2 passwords match, we only then need to check one password field. Otherwise we would have to do and string length of posted password again is less than 6. So as long as they match, we know that they match, so we only need to check one of these. So let's go ahead and try this again with the correct password. I'm just going to choose, say, A and A. Change password. Your password must be at least 6 characters. Let's go ahead and enter password and 2 different new passwords. Your new passwords do not match. Go ahead and enter my password again, and this time choose a new password, so something like password 1, password 1. Change password, no errors. So we now are at the stage where we've checked more or less all the possible combinations of entering different things. In fact, we've covered them all, I believe. And then that's it. We can now go ahead and start to change the user's password. So Now let's go ahead and just output any errors that we see, and you know how we've done before. So let's go ahead and do this. So we don't need to do this up here. We need to come down and do this under the header. So we need to output any errors that we have gained up here. So I'm going to say if. Now what do we need to check? We need to check if the posted data is empty. So let's just go ahead and reference this. So we've got here, if empty post is equal to false and empty errors is equal to true, then we register the user. Otherwise we output any errors. So we'll take the same logic as we have done here. So this is if empty, if the data that's been posted is equal to, is equal to false. So if we have posted data, so if it's not empty, and if the errors are not, if the errors are empty, so if empty errors is true, this means we have posted the form and no errors. Okay. Otherwise, what do? Well, we said otherwise if empty errors equals false, because otherwise else could mean that we have well, essentially this is, you know, this would just sort of do something even if we hadn't posted. So let's go ahead and just say else if, and here we're doing else if empty errors is equal to false. So there we go. So if that, then we just output errors. So this is this is if we've got no errors. This is if we have errors. So we echo output errors. Remember, we have our output errors function that we created earlier, and then we pass through an array here. So errors. Okay. So here is where we post stuff. So we'll just go ahead and echo OK. Otherwise, we output our errors, and that's it. So let's go ahead and refresh and see how this works. Click change password, and it says fields marked with an asterisk are required, and your current password is incorrect. So we're echoing out, you know, these two errors here. If we go ahead and enter all of the correct data, so password 1, it just says OK. So we'll just be changing the user's password and then redirecting them here. Okay, so now what do we want to do? Well, we'll leave that to the next part of this piece of the tutorial. But what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be going and creating a change password function, passing through the user's ID, passing through the new password that they want to change this to, and then we're going to be redirecting and showing the user a success message. So we'll do that in just a moment.